Did you hear what I said? Come on. Fausto, he's your dad.
I'm aware.
I know you've had some issues in the past.
Some issues.
Is about second chances and having to realize that we do not always get them. So to make that first experience, that first time, as right as it can be. And if we were given the opportunity, what would we change? I think it's beautiful how we get to see this character explore the many complicated dynamics of this situation of his father dying, how it not only relates to him, but his sister and his lover. And then, lastly, of course, himself. And the catharsis that comes through to that doesn't necessarily provide closure, but gives us a sense of hope that some internal peace can ultimately be found.
I thought it was really interesting the way that they did this loop scenario with him having to repeat this night over and over again until he finally has that courage. Overall, I thought the acting in this was really well done, really real feeling. And the end was surprising to me that in the end, his dad has already passed once he's woken up. And that I felt like was the reality of the situation while everything else was in his head and as a dream. So I thought that was an interesting way to end it, but it made sense thinking that, perhaps his dad came to him in the afterlife, and this is why the loop scenario played out in his head. But yeah, it's fun to think about the real reason for that loop and why it happened. And I thought that overall the emotions were really played out well.
I loved the story of this and the premise and how the filmmakers executed that story. I think that the actors, all of them did such a fantastic job. And I loved the loop, how things kept happening in like all of these different ways. Really dynamic and dramatic. The story was very, very heartfelt. And great cinematography, too.
I think that versions of this, of repeating a day, repeating a length of time, are really interesting from a storytelling perspective because you can kind of explore a lot with that. You can work through a lot of feelings, you can work through a lot of emotions and situations through this kind of storytelling process of like having a person be caught in a loop or caught in a repetitive section of time. And so I really enjoyed it actually. I thought it was really great. I liked how many kind of different versions he worked through himself, and I liked that you could see the progression, that you could see the growth that was happening from like one restart to the next, and that you could see him really working through those emotions, though. It wasn't just like he decided to put it all away or put it all aside to go visit his dad. He actually worked through all of them, and you could see that happening. You would have you kind of wide array of reactions and emotions to work through in that type of situation. So I really liked that they had all of that, but then that the base kind of constant that you always started with and kind of kept circling back to was him and his relationship. And then that was the kind of thing that started all of it off. And then that stayed relatively consistent the whole time with support and compassion and understanding and, trying to care as much, like trying to take care of each other as much as could be kind of expressed in that time.
Element that jumped out for me was the amazing performances. Then we have this despair, hurt, anger, mixed up with forgiveness, reconnecting, love. I enjoyed discovering the different realities and getting to the final one, which for me was the ultimate regret. And you only know about this because you saw the other potential alternative realities, and it was very well written.